There we go, now we're unmuted. Hello, everybody! Welcome to another episode of Cruising Through Max MSP with the Radical D, and we're gonna see what we can break this week. Hello, Teeth Engraved, honk to you. And just want to say hello to a couple of new followers. Thanks for joining us. We have Ayakwobe. I bet I pronounced that wicked wrong, and I apologize. Welcome to Pigeon VHS as well, and to Santa is a Bully. Nice to have y'all. So, back in action this week. Last week we had some fun playing around with velocity. And this week we're going to do something that I think I will call mapping the dungeon. Let me figure out where the hell I am. Alright, cool. Here we go. Got my screens all set up. Hope everybody can hear me. Let me make sure I'm not muted and shit. Let's play some notes and make sure everything's still working. So, to review, we got our PlayStation controller that's sending MIDI, and it's connected up with this Jupiter synth here. That is a monster of a screen hog, but it seems to be working. We have square triangle R1, X circle R2, as if this was a 6-button fighter, doing 6 different notes. And if you look over yonder, we have our velocity set up with this cutoff frequency on the filter, with some glide on it, thanks to the cool velocity mod device we looked at last week. And if I hit R2, we get a louder note, all the way up to 127. And if I hit, L2, that's a loud note, and L1 is a quiet note. And our left joystick is controlling this, let's scroll over this way, this cross knob over here, or slider rather, and the rate of the arpeggio on the X and Y axes. So I can go play these 2 notes and slowly turn up the arpeggiator, and then the cross. And generally get some wacky fun timbres. I'm glad you hear me. Thanks, Teeth Engraved. Yay. Can you hear the synth and everything too? Hoping for the best. I can hear it. So yes, that was last week. And this week, I'm going to pull up my notes because this week is going to be mapping the dungeon. So this kind of makes me think of when I used to play Link to the Past, and when you start at a dungeon, you don't really know where you're going and you don't know where all the rooms are, but eventually you find a map that shows you where the boss is and where all the different corridors are and all of that. So we're going to make a list of what's left to do on this side quest, i.e. this max patch that is just sending MIDI to live. And then once we have all of these controls mapped out in a way that we can use them with any synth, then we can return to our actual synth and max for live and make it control all sorts of weird noise that we have, more control over. So far, we have our left joystick mapped. We have 6 notes on the right. I'm going to make a list of controls on the PS3. So, we have... Yep, thank you. We have left and right joystick. We have D-pad. Up, down, left, right. We have buttons. I'm going to call them right-hand buttons. Square, triangle, X, circle, R1, R2. Then we have the left-hand buttons, L1, L2. We also have select and start, which I can think of as kind of a pair. And we have the L and R3 buttons. So that's when you click in on the joystick, like this. Which I believe we can get data for, but we haven't figured that out quite yet. I think that's officially called L3 and R3, unless I made that up. But yeah, the joystick clickers. And let's see, is there anything else I've forgotten? We've got L1, L2, we got the right-hand buttons, we got D-pad, we got 2 joysticks, we got select start. And I don't think the PS button is something that we can map because that is what controls actually connecting to our patch. So that's what we have to work with. Now here's what I want to assign. I think that the buttons, both the right hand and the left hand buttons, should control notes, as they're doing right now. But if we incorporate the L1 and L2 buttons, then we have a full octave and 7 notes for a standard scale. So I've been kind of taking into account these ideas that we discussed a couple weeks ago through chat, and I'd initially thought maybe just 2 or 3 notes, but I think that I want to go with the idea of a full mode. It feels pretty nice to be able to do little chords and arpeggio things and kind of treat buttons like you would on a keyboard. And I don't know, they make me think of Tekken moves. So you can do little triangles, you know, square triangle X is a 3-note run, a little melody. So I think that is very close to what we have now, but we'll want to make this into a B patcher. And so yeah, that's our buttons, right hand and left hand buttons. Now here's what I'm thinking for the rest. Joysticks, both mappable XY controls. So like what we have now, except both of them. The leftover functions that I want to assign are, now that we're going to be moving L1 and L2 into actual notes instead of velocity control. Right now they're quiet, loud buttons. We need to put velocity control somewhere else. So I'm thinking that's going to be, so velocity control is going to be left, right, D-pad. And thank you, TextEdit, for autocorrecting D-pad to the word dead. That's ominous. Please don't do that. That makes me nervous. Okay. So yeah, velocity control on left, right. And the way I'm thinking of that is think about Smash Brothers. If you do left and square, you get a move. If you do right and square, you get a different move. And if you hold down left a little bit longer, then we're going to get a quiet note. And if you just tap left, we're going to get a less quiet note. Middle is going to be middle of the road velocity. And then right is going to be louder. And the longer you hold down right, the louder your note is. That seems pretty intuitive to me. So left, right is loudness. And then up, down, I'm thinking, could be octave control. Up, down, D-pad. So that would mean that we assign our notes using these little keyboards here for each of our buttons, and whatever those are assigned to, if I hit up on the D-pad, we take everybody up an octave. Nathan Grant says, "You're all doomed! Doomed!" Yeah, thank you, TextEdit, for dooming everybody. I knew you'd have a hand in it. Oh my lord. But yeah, so, regular old octave up-down on the up-down. Velocity, quiet, loud on the left-right. And we've got notes on all our buttons. We've got various swooshy controls on our joysticks. All that we have left is the L3 and R3 buttons and the select start buttons. And what I'm thinking that we want to map those to are, let's see, I had this all worked out in my head at 3 in the morning last night when I was trying to fall asleep. We need a toggle mode. That's one thing. And a toggle mode would mean that you could latch your notes. So when I play square right now, it only plays as long as I hold down the button. But if I have a toggle mode on, I would want it to start playing when I tap it once, and then stop playing when I tap it a second time. So we need toggle mode on off. And that also necessitates a panic button. Panic! Panic button actually means all notes off. So trust me from experience on that, if you're doing a toggle mode, especially with max MSP, you want an easy option to just kill all your notes. Because you don't want to have to remember, like, was it triangle that I had on, or was it square? If you want all your notes to turn off, just should be able to hit a button for that. And the last thing we probably want is a menuing mode. My thought for that is that we're going to use Patter to store some presets to remember which notes are on each button, and you might want to change between your scale. And that could be as easy as hitting a button, going into a menu, and then moving to a new preset. So to do that, I'm thinking, I remember this. I'm thinking menu mode is start. That's intuitive, right? Start's for pause. Hit the start button, you pause your control. We're going to need a gate that shuts off all of our other inputs so that you don't accidentally hit notes and stuff while you're in menu mode. So you hit pause, you get to select another preset, probably with up, down. So start, pause, and go into menu mode. Then select preset with up, down, then hit start again to exit. So, sticking with video game conventions as much as I can. And I think that's all we need, really. So for the toggle stuff, that strikes me as, let's have toggle mode on, off be L3, R3. You could have that be the same button, so you click it once, it turns it on, you click it off, it turns it off. But that's something I'd rather not have to remember in the heat of the moment. So I'm thinking if you want to go into a toggle or a latch mode, hit your L3 button. And if you want to go back into normal mode, hit your R3 button. That's easy. So L3 is on, R3 is off. That leaves us with select for an all notes off. So if you're playing and you've got 6 notes held down and then you want to go back to normal mode, you can either hit select and have all the notes turn off, or you can hit R3 and switch back out of toggle mode. And that's something to make a note of too. When you go from toggle mode to regular mode, you want to trigger an all notes off. That feels like something I would want. Menuing, so toggle mode. When we switch to R3 for a normal playing mode, trigger all notes off. Oh, there, autocorrect was actually correct. So there, that is our list of things we are going to try to accomplish in this Silver Machine Max patch. And then we're going to take these controls and put them back into our original Max for Live device and be able to hook them into actual audio things and be confident in how the actual controller feels and functions in our hands as an instrument. That's the plan. And I know that we're not making noise yet, and I hope this isn't too boring, but this is a serious, important step to programming in any language. This is one of those things that I try and pepper in here for those that are new to programming. I always use a notes file like this at work, even more so. In fact, I get a lot more detailed at work because it's, it puts food on my table and it's really freaking complicated. Also, you guys are watching me, so I'm a little less detailed in these notes. But if you have an actual layout of where you're trying to go with a project, it's easier to not wander off and get distracted and then never actually finish anything because you're striving for perfection and you get stuck on things that don't matter. These are the things that matter. When we have these things implemented, we are done. And we will move on out of this side quest and back to our Max for Live patch. Sound like a plan, chat? Tell me if you have any suggestions. But this is what I'm thinking. And now for actually implementing this, today, I get to write a happy little done here from last week, because we put a quiet loud in. I think the next thing we want to do is get this velocity control today. Get our left and right D-pad happening. That would be a good next step because we got the L1 and L2 happening last week. Now we're going to make that just a little bit more complicated. We know how to make things quieter or louder. Now we want a range rather than just a single quiet level and a single loud level. And if we have time, I think the other thing we want to do is level up a little bit. We want to clean up our notes and turn them into B-patchers. And I guess while I'm in here being boring and, in my teaching shoes, one more little general programming lesson. B-patcher, not patcher. B-patchers are, in Max MSP, very similar to classes in any other programming language. A class is like a blueprint for a thing that you can make copies of. If you think about, I guess a car factory is probably an okay example. Man, actually, that's a terrible example because I don't really know much about cars. What's a good example? You need a blueprint. Yeah, okay, let's run with cars. My brain is blanking. My brain is blanking. You want to have a blueprint, and that sort of tells your program what your inputs and outputs of this thing are going to be. This car is going to have 4 wheels. It's going to go forward when I hit the gas pedal. It's going to stop when I hit the brake, one would hope. And beyond that, from this blueprint, we can then make individual cars that have slight differences. They're all going to have those shared characteristics of 4 wheels and forward-backward pedals, but one of them might be red, and one of them might be blue, and one of them might have a built-in radio, and one of them doesn't. Yeah, you get the idea. A B-patcher is going to allow us to take like this little chunk of code and put it in a separate patch where we can copy and paste it and know that it's going to be exactly the same except for certain bits where we tell it to be different. For example, the only thing we really need to change in this B-patcher, at first glance anyway, is where it's getting its information. This is going to be our square button. This is going to be our circle button. Other than that, these are going to be exactly the same. So it's going to be a pretty simple little B-patcher. Okay, teaching lesson over. Let's move on. So that's our mission for today. Today's mission. I'm going to do a save as because I'm paranoid about things. You can call that Silver Machine 2 because we have things that currently work. Saving didn't mess it up. Lovely. Now here's our quiet loud button. First thing we need to do is figure out where the heck our D-pad stuff is coming from. I don't think we have that mapped yet. So that means we get to jump back into this hi object. Hi! Hi stands for human interface for anybody new. We're gonna put a print over here and see what we have not mapped yet. So you see the huge stream of numbers here. We have to figure out which of these are corresponding to our D-pad. And it's not going to be too easy. There's a lot of stuff coming in still that we haven't seen. And the reason this is going so fast is because we are polling every 10 milliseconds, and a lot of this is probably tilt data and stuff like that. So it's kind of coming in at all times. Now, I see some 30s. Here, I'm going to pause this. I see some 30s, 63, 29, 28. Let's take those out. So a new route. Whoops. Route looks for whatever the first number in this pair is, and then spits out the second number if it matches. So if I say 28, see this last message here says 28 and 126. If we get that again through this route, then we will get 126 out here. And anything that doesn't match the numbers that I put in here comes out this outlet, which is what's happening here. These are the numbers we've found so far, and now we're looking for new ones that match the controls we want to map. Oh, I still need that. So, 28, 29, 30, 63. Let's see. Kind of wondering if 28 and 29 are our right joystick. If that is the case, we will be needing that. I'm guessing that because 26 and 27 are the left joystick, and if there's justice in the universe, then 28 and 29 would be the right joystick. And they are! Hooray! Alright, cool. So we have found our right joystick. Hello there, Teeth Engraved. General Kenobi. Alrighty. Hope y'all don't get too bored. This is one of the slightly more technical streams, but I promise it's gonna be worth it. We'll do some fun stuff. Alright, so let's go ahead and add sends for this. And maybe we can throw in the right joystick with the quickness. So this is raw R, joy X. This is raw R, joy Y. Rar. I keep trying to do the left one. So yeah, X is on the left here, and Y is on the right. Awesome. So I wasn't expecting to find those so quickly, but there we are. Lovely. Let's put this print back in. And, 1 second. Alright, cool. And it's nice to have some folks out there watching. Feel free to hop in on chat and introduce yourself. Oh, and big news, by the way, while I'm distracting myself, I'm going to be putting together a Discord this week. My hope is that we can all hop on there and be able to share patches with each other more directly and share music with each other. And if you find cool Max for Live devices like I did last week, then we can share those there as well and look at them on stream and stuff. Cool. So I will send that over to you next week and over Twitter and stuff. I'm still learning Discord because I'm old, but I think it's going to be fun. Alright, we got 65, 67, 69 I see in there. Nice. Still not really seeing anything from the D-pad. Whoops. But we're just going to keep looking. I'm going to put some numbers in here until we figure out what these are. We know there's something, so I'm going to hit buttons until we figure it out. So 67 and 69. And this is part of programming, is just getting in here and poking around until you figure out what the hell is going on. Nothing from the D-pad yet, so it's not these. Whoop, we know what that is. These are just sort of flickering around. I wonder if these might be tilt. Man, I was hoping I could use 69 for something, but not yet. Oh, hey, what's up, Beard Pills? The stream is indeed live. Nice to have you. Welcome. We are poking around and trying to figure out where the D-pad is so that we can map that to things. And so far, we have not found it. But it's only a matter of time. So I'm going to hook this print back up, and I'm just seeing a bunch of 65s. I see some 66s. Let's route those out too. 65, 66. Integers. I know you're here somewhere. Yep, not these. Alright. We're just gonna keep looking. Yep. It's not the clicks yet. Alright. Print. We must be getting down to it. Oh, there we go. That's looking promising. 38, I think. Oh, good news! The D-pad is pressure sensitive. Oh, fucking awesome. Alright. So, you know why that's awesome, chat? Is because I was going to use a timer to make it so that our D-pad could control velocity, but we are not going to have to do that. I guess that makes sense. Of course it's pressure sensitive. I didn't really think about it. But yeah, that's going to make it much easier. So if you press hard on left, we're going to get a quieter note. If you press lightly and just do a quick tap on left, then we're going to get a less quiet note. Right is going to be louder, and then Bob's your uncle. So what did I say, 38? 38. Yep. Nice. Alright, so 38 seems to be left D-pad. Cool. And 39, I bet, is going to be right. If there's any justice in the universe. Any chance? No, it's not. Okay, we still gotta look for the right one. But we found left, so that's cool. Let me label this. Left D-pad. Pressure. There's another programming tidbit. Leave yourself some comments, otherwise you're gonna outsmart yourself. Because otherwise you're gonna come back to your patches and your programs in a month after you're bored of whatever got you distracted, and then you're not gonna know what anything does. Believe me, I've done it. Alright, what did I do? 39 here, that one didn't work. Let's take that out. Let's keep looking at print. We gotta find the rest of our D-pad. Or at least left, right. Okay, looks like, I think, 36. Yep, 36 is right. Cool. Cool. Now, I suppose we could combine these into one route, but we don't need most of these controls. I'm not going to mess with tilt yet. That's not in our mission plan. That's going to be a version 2 problem. Knowing when to draw the line between version 1 and version 2 is a very, very important programming skill that has taken me years to learn, and I'm still learning. Because it's always tempting to add new stuff, but you gotta remember that you can always do a version 2. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work and do something kind of cool. Maybe solve a problem. That's the hope. And this is going to do something pretty fun without tilt controls. And if we want to add that later, then we totally can. Alright, so we have our left and right D-pads. Let's take these extra number boxes out because we don't need them. And we also have our right joystick, so that's cool. And let's leave this route the way it is so we don't have to filter these out again. But I'm going to put these over here keep things a little bit neat. And let's add a send for each of these. Let's call them L-pad and, or maybe let's do pad L, pad R. There, whoop. Oh my god, Max, please, sir. Thank you. You over here. Okay. So we have some data. Let's go back over here to where our quiet loud stuff from last time was. So we're going to improve upon this by using these pressure controls. I'm going to change these sends into receives, if I can remember how to spell receive. I could just use R. That is a perfectly good abbreviation. But I like using full words. It makes things more readable when you come back to them. See also my comments about comments. Alright. Now what the hell do I want to do here? I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to put more integers here. Now what I want is yeah, so this goes from 0 to 255. And we're going to do something pretty similar to this with the joystick patches. I'm just going to take a look at them. But I don't think we need to be as complicated here, because we don't need to worry about having an XY plane that we're traveling around. We just want to make a note either quieter or louder based on how hard we're pressing the button. So I think we just want one scale object, and that's going to be our multiplier. So I'm going to reuse this here. And right now we have, when we press L1, we trigger a 0.5, so that makes our velocity half as loud. And we press L2, we trigger a 2, and that makes our velocity twice as loud. So instead of that, we want to have a scale here. So our scale goes on the left from 0 to 255. And when we're at 0, we want our velocity to be the same as whatever we set it for the default. So that would mean multiplying by 1. But when we get to 255, we want it to be practically 0, but not quite, because we always want to hear the note. And we're going to put a gain slider after this, I think. This guy. So you can always turn up and make it so that your note is louder. So let's make this pretty small. Let's try 0.1. Thinking out loud here. And it seems like these don't fluctuate as much as the joystick. They really do go back to 0 real quick as soon as I let go. So I don't think there's any need for us to have a dead zone. Remember, with the joystick, these kind of move around in a weird way. Like sometimes you're in your middle position. There, you see right here? Your middle position is flickering between 140 and 141, or 136, 137. So we had to put in a dead zone so that we would actually have a center value of 0. Here we don't seem like we need that. This is going to be much simpler. So on the right, we want it to get louder. I'm going to move this out the way. Whoops. Come here, you. Yeah, on the right, we want to move this out of the way and take this in there. Put this over here. And we're going to go from 0 to 255. But this time we want to get louder. So 0 is still going to be 1, because 1 means don't change. And the loudest it's going to get, I guess we could do 2 again. But we might want more than that. Let me think for a second. Say our default... I think we're going to want a standard default. Let's say that our default is 64. Default velocity is 64, which is right in the middle. If we want our quietest note to be, say, I guess 1, you can always offset it. Then you'd want 64. You want, let me think about this for a second. I guess you'd want 64 divided by 64 is equal to 1, so whatever 1 over 64 is 0.01. Right? So instead of 0.1, let's make this 0.1. That way... Here, we'll just test this. I want to see what's actually coming out of here. Don't get scared of the math, folks. It's okay. It's okay. I promise it won't bite. We're just going to figure this out as we go. We're going to start and assume that our velocity's in the middle. And what we want to do is have it go the full range. So that... Okay, when I go all the way to the left, as hard as I can, I get 0.01. And 0.01 times 64... right? 60... Oh my god. 64 times 0.01. Give me a calculator. Oh no, not my contacts. Oh, see, now I'm getting scared of the math because you guys are here. You know what? Let's just try it and see what happens. Whatever. Let's say we go from 1 to 10. How about that? We can always refine this later. This is one of those don't get stuck trying to make it perfect the first time things. It'll be alright. We can actually math this out whenever we feel like it. This will be fine. So, left we go down to 0.01. Right we go up to 10. Oh, I guess you know what we do want to do? I'm an idiot. We actually want our highest value to be 2 because 64 times 2 is 127 if I am not mistaken. Give me a fucking calculator. 64 times 2, 128. Close enough. And if we... 64 times 0.01 is 0.64. Yes, of course it is. 64 times something is equal to 1. We want to get 1 out of 64. So in order to get that, whoops, we don't open the comment box. Stay with me, folks. I know it's algebra, it's scary, it's got an X in it. All we want to know is what we want to multiply by 64 in order to get 1. Okay? The way we do that is now we divide by 64 on both sides of the equation. It'll be over in a minute. X is then equal to 1 over 64. Yeah, okay, so I was right. So, where's the calculator? 1 over 64 is 0.015. Alright, sure, we'll do that. Cool. So now, if I take these, let's just test this, and grab a times and a 64. So no matter what, we're multiplying by 64. And I'm going to receive our multiplier here. What I'm doing here is I just want to make sure that I'm getting the full range of our velocity. So, with no buttons pressed, we're at 64. Going to the left, we get down to 0.96. MIDI is going to round that either up to 1 or down to 0. So I guess we're going to go up just a little bit. We don't want velocity 0, because that's going to be a note we don't hear. Let's go to 0.02. Yeah, alright, that's fine. We probably in reality want that a bit bigger. You never really use MIDI notes that are under 10 velocity, honestly. So we'll just feel this out. 0.0, let's try 0.03. That takes us to 2. Let's try 0.05. Alright, that's probably good. Yeah, velocity 3. Even a little more. How about 0.1? Yep, that takes us down to 6. That's plenty. Alright, and then going loud. There we go, up to 128. Awesome. So I guess before we send this, we might as well just clip to 0 to 127. And that should round us into integers, which is what MIDI understands, and keep us within the range it expects. Oh, we don't want that yet. We still want our multiplier. Hang on. That was just giving us 1 and 2. Alright, so let's jump back over here to our notes. So we're receiving our multiplier in here. And let's take this guy out for a second. This is going to be our gain slider, and we want this to be after our velocity control. I need to move this out of my way just a little bit so that I can think. So we receive our multiplier. We're going to actually receive it in the left inlet now. We're going to assume that this is 64. So here's our clip. We already had it. We can leave this in place. This is our 0 velocity triggered when we let go of a button. There's actually no reason for this to be over here. This is going to be the same on every one of these patches. So this is going to go over here. Instead of times 1, we're going to be times 64. So this is just what we were testing a minute ago. And then this will go through clip. And this will actually be our velocity. There we go. See, when I go left, we get 6 and 7. Yeah, so it's quiet. When I go right, we go 127. When I let go, it's in the middle for 64. So instead of sending a multiplier, I'm going to call this current velocity. Or maybe, how about D-pad velocity? Descriptive variable names are super important when you're programming. Otherwise, again, you forget where you are, and it makes it way easier to debug. So it pays to take a second to actually think about what you're naming things. So this is the velocity value that we're getting from our D-pad. Now we're going to want to receive this. Those are connected up here. So let's just work with the square button for a minute. We don't need this anymore. We've done that already. But we do want an option to be able to make this note louder after the fact. So now this is going to go into another multiplier, I think. Unless we want to add. Just thinking to myself, do we want to add or do we want to multiply for our gain? We can always change it later. Let's multiply. So that's just going to be a value between 0 and 1, really, but you'd never actually want 0. Though you might want to make it louder. So I'm going to give this a default value of 1 point for floats. And this is going to be set by our slider here. Which we want to set the range to be, rather than 0 to 127, we want this to be more like, let me think for a second. Well, we can keep it to be a range of 127, 128. Output minimum. Oh, we've already got this 0 to 1. Let's make this 0 to... 0 to 2? So you can make it twice as loud if you want to really crank. But you probably won't really need this. Let's see how this behaves. That didn't do what I wanted. We can use a pretty slider another time. I'm going to just use a number box. Minimum is going to be 0.1. Maximum is going to be 2. And the default, let's give it a default of 1. Is there a default somewhere? Arg. Alright, bear with me, chat. How do we want to do this? I guess I'm going to go back to a slider. This is showing my rust. I haven't, I took a bunch of years off of Max MSP and then came back to it over the duration of the pandemic and wanted to do this with you guys, but there's still some stuff that I forget sometimes. So range, and let's see what 10 does. Alright, that's 0 through 9. That makes sense. So 0 to 2, a range of 2 gives us an on-off switch with a multiplier of 1. Let's give it a smaller multiplier. I think that's what we want. So if I make this 0.1... that didn't do it. Oh my goodness. Stick with me here, chat. It's gonna be okay. Float output. That's what we're missing. It's doing integers. There we go. So that's doing 0 to 0.2. Let's give it a bigger range. We want, I don't know, 20. There we go. Now it's a nice smooth slider going from 0 to 2. That's what I wanted. But let's give our minimum something that's larger than 0. Because we don't ever want the velocity to just be off. Yeah, alright. Sweet. 0.1 all the way up to 2. 0.1, sure, looks good. So this gives us an option to add some gain to what our D-pad velocity is doing. Okay, so that goes in here. And what we want to do next... Hey, look, that's much cleaner, huh? Look at that. So when we hit the square button, we get a 1, which triggers this bang. And says, send the note number. But before that, we want to send... we were sending this velocity. But we don't actually need to do that. Because this is... Well, guess it couldn't hurt. In case you've changed this slider at some point before you hit this note, we would want to make sure that the current value is waiting in here. And then... if you receive something from the D-pad velocity, then it would come in the left inlet and trigger it. Ooh, wait a minute. Yeah, we don't want your D-pad to immediately trigger a note. That's a problem. So this needs to wait. Aha. Yes. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Gain slider times D-pad velocity, which is going to default back to 64 in the middle when we're not pressing anything. And then whatever this is going to wait in an integer box, just like this note value does. It's going to come in the right and hang out here until we tell it to go. And that's what this bang is going to do. Yes, because triggering the note number is going to actually make the note go. We set the velocity for the next note, and then instantaneously we trigger whatever note number we have saved in here. This iBox just holds an integer until you're ready to send it out. So I think that should do it. We've got this in the middle somewhere. I want to be able to see what's coming out of it. So yeah, we've set that at a bit over 1. D-pad velocity should go to 64. So yeah, now our default is 76. Looks good. Alright, 67. We're sort of in the middle. I think we're ready to test this note out. Alright. Nice. So, square. Oop. Alright, we have a slight problem. We got one note, but then we didn't get a new note. Because the velocity went to 0. Aha! So this 0... Okay. We don't want this 0 to override our note on velocity. We just want to send that 0 directly out of the note out object. That's what we want to do. Alright. My loyal 2 viewers, thank you for hanging out. I know this is a more technical stream, but it's gonna all be worth it. And I hope that you guys are learning something watching me hack my way through this. Stop me if you have any questions, as always. Okay. Oh, we're still at 0. There we go. Now it's working. So I'm not pressing the D-pad. I'm hitting square. We're getting a middle-of-the-road velocity. Now if I go left, it should get quieter. The harder I press, the quieter we should get. This synth is not very responsive to velocity. Hold on. Teeth Engraved says, no problem. Thank you! Yeah, I'm glad you're hanging in there. This is just part of the game. Once you struggle through these dungeons, then you get to, I don't know, find the Triforce? But I really do think of this kind of like gaming. This is... What we're doing right now is we are just fucking wandering through the dungeon and trying to find the next bonfire, if we used some Dark Souls terms. Okay, so I am hearing a difference, and you can see it. Actually, we've got this mapped to our cutoff filter in the velocity mod over here, and you can see that the harder I press, this slider is over on the left, we're getting smaller velocities, and the filter is closing. And if I let go, we come back to the middle, and if I go right, it should get louder. Yeah, alright, so that's working. Nice. Rock and roll. Oh my god, I zoomed way out. What happened? Come back, Max. Zoom the screen out. Zoom Max in. Actually, that's kind of better in some ways. I can see more things and have more space. Alright, we're gonna save right here. And now, I think we get to put this into a bee patcher. I think that's the plan. New patch, Bob the Bee Patcher. Alright. Also, we get to go to our list and mark off a little done. Done. Sick. Alright, so this bee patcher is gonna basically have this. We could have this receive be an argument, Yeah, what the heck. That's fine. We're going to eventually probably want inlets and outlets, or at least just inlets, to be able to set our MIDI separately. But for right now, we can just set it directly in the B-patcher. And instead of square button, this is going to be called #1. Remember the changeable arguments? We get to name our patches Bob and Jane, or, you know, things that are more programmy. But we don't need to change D-pad velocity. We want to send that to all of our notes at the same time, so that if I go left and triangle, it reacts the same way as if I go left and square. Again, think Smash Brothers controls. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to leave these bangs in here just so that we can see what's going on. I'm going to label this. #1 is the name of the send receive pair for raw data. Example, square button. And I think that's the only argument we need. We had a much more complicated one for our joysticks. So this should be a walk in the park for you guys, right? Let's see. Now we get to add this stuff to presentation mode. Patcher Inspector. We want to open in presentation. This is going to be so pretty. That's some of the payoff. So you, and then some stuff for monitoring. You, and you, and I guess you. Whoops. Unselected everything. God damn it. Come here. You guys. And you. And you. Yeah, that should do it. And I guess this. Add to presentation. Go to presentation. Gonna add one more comment here. Gain. There we go. So let's take our keyboard, put that up here. We're probably not gonna... Eventually we won't really want this receive to be visible because it's not pretty, but right now we want to see that this thing's working. So I'm going to put that here. That's going to be labeled with our button. This is note on, note off. Oops. No! Delete. Note on. Note off. Sweet. Let's line those up. We'll keep our comments on the... Whoops. Keep our comments on the right, actually. Take you. There. Line these up. So this is the leveling up part. We're going to make our shit pretty. We have something that works. We want to make it dry, like we talked about last week, so we're not repeating ourselves. If I wasn't making this B-patcher, I'd have to make this little change here 6 times, and no one fucking wants to watch that, least of all me. So these are going to go here, just so we can see when a note is on and off. We want to see what the pitch and velocity is. So these are just monitors, so we can actually do something a little fancy here. Let's line these up. We don't want to actually interact with these as part of our interface. Let's line these up. So I'm going to tell them to ignore click, because you don't want to confuse your user or yourself. Where's ignore click? There it is. So our user would set the node here and set the gain. We want this to have a default value, which I don't see here. So I'm going to say load mess for load message. Give it a 1. Whoops, not you. You! Yes. No. We want it to be in the middle. What did we set this for? 20, so it would actually be 10? There we go. That's a little over 1. 9? 1. There we go. Beautiful. Where can I put this that's pretty? I guess on the left here? Whatever. Yeah, let's do this. This. This is also a monitor, so we want to ignore click. Let's put these underneath. Cool. Yeah, something like that. It ain't the prettiest yet, but it's better than what we got. Oh, here, I know. Let's put this here. There, now it's in line. And yeah, alright. Awesome. Save. What should we call this? I think we're gonna call this... Note button. How about that? Alright. Close that. Alright. This is where the fun begins. B-patcher. Now we gotta tell the B-patcher. Whoops. Oh, what did I do? I hit too many buttons. Hang in there, chat. We're gonna do this. B-patcher. We want the inspector. We want to pick a patcher. And we want note button. There it is. And we want arguments to be square button. And there it is. Alright, chat, you ready? We've done a save as. We're gonna do something scary. Here we go. I'm gonna select all of this stuff. And we're gonna hit delete. Are you ready? Bang. Oh man. There we go. I hope this works. I probably should have tested it first, but YOLO! Let's make that a C. And, oh, I remembered something. We have to have our note out visible so that we can set it to something. Open original. U. Also, I kind of want to be able to see this pitch when I select it from the keyboard. So one tiny little thing. Add that to presentation. I just want to send this directly into Note Out and then move this up here. Boop. Ah, you over here and you over here. There. Okay. That should do it. Then I'll put gain here, maybe. Yeah. Make that a little shorter. Cool. Save. And as you can see, because we made the argument square button, we see a receive square button up there. So hopefully we should see note on and note off when I hit the square button. I should be able to... Oh, I can't select this? Lame. Ugh. Okay. Do I need to lock the patch? Then can I? Yes. Okay, I can still select this. Good times. Thought I was going to have to make a friggin' menu. Alright, select C. Pitch 60. We've got a velocity here. And select IAC driver bus. Moment of truth. Okay, left and right D-pad are working. Good times. Square? It still works. We didn't break anything, chat. Hey, we've got a new person here. Disciple. I hope I pronounced that right. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're having a good night. You've joined us at a good moment where we are going to start copying and pasting this cool new B-patcher. So now we get to have all of our friggin' notes all at once. So this one is gonna be square button. Let's do in order of Street Fighter. Square, triangle, R1. We'll go vertically, I suppose. So square. This one's gonna be... Disciple says, yes, very good. I used to use Max as well. BRV. Cool. Yep, we'll be here. Yeah, I worked for a company doing Max MSP for about 4 years, but it was friggin' eons ago, it feels like. So I took a break, I learned other programming languages, and now I'm back. I've gotten back into it over the pandemic, and it feels good to be home. What was I? Triangle. That's the next one. And this one's gonna be R1. I think that's correct. Disciple says, I switched to Touch Designer. I haven't tried that yet. How is it? Is that like iPad related, or... I'm actually not familiar with it. Let me make sure I named this correctly. Yep, L1, L2. Oh, we should be consistent with our namings here, chat. So instead of R1 button, let's make this just R2. R1. Ah, it's a node-based thing, like Node.js. I've used some Node.js. That sounds interesting. Oh, with Python as an option, huh? Cool. Yeah, I've done a little bit of Python, but not a ton. That sounds rad. I was saying to folks here, I'm going to try to set up a Discord this week so that we can share our work with each other. So if you have cool projects that you've done in Touch Designer that you want to share either with folks over Discord or on the stream, then you can throw it in there. So it's like Max where you connect stuff. Oh, great. That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see some projects in that. I haven't poked at it yet. I try to make this a space where we can all collaborate and learn from each other, so maybe I can learn something from you there. Alright, so R1. Let's copy these over here. Nice. Oh, no, don't be sorry. I am carrying on, and I'm here to chat with you guys while I work. It's boring when you're just doing this locked in a room by yourself. This is far more fun. Nothing to apologize for. Square button. Alright, so we want X. So I'm kind of thinking of this like, this is light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, light kick, medium kick, heavy kick. Alright. So next is circle. And next is gonna be R2. I would name one of these Bob like we were joking about last week, but then our buttons won't link up. We need to have these named the same thing that we named these sends over here, coming out of the HI object. So let's see. We get... Let's see if these work. Alright, gotta lock the patch. Gotta make sure these are all on IAC driver. Another cleanup thing I need to add to our list is we'll want to have one menu that connects to all of these. And, you know, what the heck, let's go for broke and let's do L2 L1 and L2 as well. Then we can have a whole scale here. We can get rid of this because we're using the D-pad instead now. Oh my god. We're making progress, chat. I'm stoked. Oops. Let's not get ahead of myself here. L1. L2. Here we go. Save. We have to assign a note for each of these, so let's go up Aeolian. How about that? So we got C, D, E flat, and then let's go the kicks, F, G, A flat, and then L1 is going to be our flat 7, so that's B flat, and then L2 is going to be C. That's the higher octave. Gain defaults to 1, and gotta set all these note outs. Did I do that again already? I'm losing my brain. Probably did. But I don't think I did for the L's. Yep, glad I checked. Okay. Nice. And so that's another thing we want to have a menu for. Going with Teeth Engraved suggestion where we're going to have a menu that sets a scale for all of these buttons. But then if you want to do something weirder, you can actually get in here and set it on the keyboard itself. Disciple says, I'm not promoting my channel. I'm not promoting, but my channel is all Touch Designer, no OBS, just Touch Designer, and my hardware encoder. Cool. Yeah, no worries. Like I said, we're here to share our work, and it is not a problem for you to talk about your channel as well. And this looks dope. I'm glad you think so. I think it's going to be pretty dope. I'm hoping. Here we go. Let's see if it works. The big refactor. Yeah. No. Why? Oh, needed to hit left once. Okay, just because the D-pad wasn't happening yet, so that's going to need a load bang there to make it default to 64. That's fine. And I'm going to add those to my notes before I forget. Alright, let's see. Do not forget. Need menus to assign scales as well as MIDI output device and channel for all buttons. And we also want load bang for D-pad. It keeps auto-correcting D-pad to dead and I'm scared. Okay, load bang for D-pad velocity to default to 64. So since you came in a little bit late, just to clarify for Teeth Grave says, I'm scared. I'm scared too. But yeah, so when we're not pressing anything on the D-pad, our velocity defaults to the middle. So that should be 64. You can see it showing up here. But when I press left, it gets quieter. And when I press left hard, it gets really quiet. And when I go right, it gets louder. And right hard gets all the way up to 127. Okay, let's try it again. Nice! Okay, we can go up the scale now. Holy crap, it all works! Let's play with it. Sweet! That's working. Let's try a different synth. I get bored easily. New synth time. Plugins. What are we going to use this week? Let's try... Oh, I don't know. What haven't we used yet? Let's do something else in Arturia land. How about the Prophet? Prophet's cool. Let's play around with some other sounds. Synth lead. Big porta lead. Yeah, that's cool. Alright. Yeah, I can work with that. Let's find something to assign our joystick to. Ooh, and let's get a little crazy. What do you think, chat? Since we're on a roll here, let's add the other joystick. I think we're ready. I think all we need to do is actually copy and paste this. Move this out of the way. And then we'll have 2 more CCs we can map. Because remember we found this earlier? If luck is with us, then this will just work. Raw R? There we go. So there's RX and RY. And let's assign them to CC out. We still want channel 1. Let's do 3. And let's do 4. And that reminds me of something else to add to our notes. We need a gate for MIDI mapping. Because all of this is sending data at all times, which confuses Ableton. So I'm going to just disconnect these for a second while we map them. And let's find some fun little knobs. These need to go to IAC bus as well. Alright, alright. We doing good? So where's some knobs? We need 4 knobs. Filter cutoff is always good. I'm going to go into configure. We'll do that. What else? What else? We need 3 more things. Pulse width? That's not doing too much. We can turn up oscillator B. Oh, that's probably why we weren't hearing pulse width. Let's give this a different shape. Let's put it maybe up an octave. You know what? I want more things to map, and this is not cutting it. Let's go back into generate. I like generate. Newfangled audio. Generate. Let's find a lead. Cool. Yeah, alright. We can do folds. Oh yeah, Teeth Engraved says pulse width only works on square waves. Thank you, yes. That's what I was missing. Good call. Okay, well, we're here now. Animate is good. Shape is good. Oh, I like the sub 2. That's 3. And I guess let's do filter frequency. Alright. So we're gonna do animate, sub, shape, frequency. Now we're gonna map those. MIDI. Let's do left on this guy. And let's do right on these. Okay. Go for broke. If I was being super studious, I would check these first before mapping all of them, but fuck that, it's almost midnight. YOLO! Let's connect these back up. Cross your fingers, chat. Teeth engraved, you're gonna make popcorn, you are the absolute best. I'll tell you a secret, chat. Teeth engraved is in my kitchen. Oh, I want you to see my messy room. Okay. Oh my god. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Let's do it. Well, that's what you get. Something's not happening. Oh, here we go. Have to actually use the joystick. Alright, we got joystick data. That seems like it's working. Up, down, right, left, right. Yep. We got joysticks. Cool. Okay. We're close. We're close. Okay, there we go. We're getting notes. Nice. Okay, yeah, let's try it. Okay, you can actually hear the velocity now. Hey, cool. Yep, both joysticks are working. Sick. Dude, you could actually play little riffs on this. Nice! Fun. Oh boy. Well, that's some huge progress, chat. I think we're doing pretty good here. And I think that's probably a good place to put this down. We will fine-tune this next week, but we got 2 joysticks, we got a full scale of notes, and we have a nice happy little bee patcher. So I would call that a stream well done. In fact, I'm going to mark this done. We've completed today's mission. Thanks for joining us. I hope you all had a good time. And this one got pretty technical, but we made it. And I hope we learned some things. Let's go raid somebody. What do you say? I think it's time. Also, because popcorn. It's time for me to go eat popcorn. How do I get to the thing where we raid? Yes, let's go raid somebody. Yay! Kung Fu Fruit Cup is up. Let's go. Thank you again, everybody. It was so nice to meet some new folks. And yeah, have a good night. And I'll see you next week. Let's go.